this point. This one was supposed to surprise me, but I don't get how you'll be like, why did you leave Africa? You know, I was checking flights and I only saw one airline. Really? Really? I'm on a journey of finding out or concluding or deciding whether I, who is a Kenyan, am moving to America to join my African American husband, or he is moving from America to join me here in Kenya. What does that mean? That he has to move. Basically, it means a move has to happen somewhere. That's why I'm keen to understand between the live, I-L-I-V-E, which one is better in terms of what accommodates all of us. And that's why today I'm keen to understand why African Americans or Black Americans that move into Africa, why they tend to live and go back to Africa. Well, first of all, I have to begin by saying there's this perspective that people normally have about, like, I would say a lot of people that are naive about or don't have information about Africa have these two extreme thoughts. First of all, they think Africa is the Wakanda. As you saw, the joy, the amazing, beautiful, blessed. We have fruits and juice and, you know, like this amazing, beautiful place. We love each other. We walk around hugging each other. We be saying hi to hyenas, you know, like stuff like this. That's a joke from another video. I also hope you have subscribed to this channel because we have some really interesting discussions about this whole matter. And one on the other side of other people is those that have been sold into the quote-unquote European perspective of what Africa is. There's poverty. They live with lions. They sleep in houses that are not houses, if that's something, you know, like they don't have food, they don't have water, they don't have electricity, like a struggling sort of people. So I feel like it's a better deal for that person that comes to Africa with a perspective of this is struggle and I'm gonna go through it, struggle quoted, and then they come in and they find, oh, they got skyscrapers, they got people, they got humans, they interact, they hang out, like they have a normal living situation. I feel like that's a better kind of situation for that person. But also remember, if your mindset is wrong, you could also continue being with the mindset of, you know what, this is the Africa that I know, regardless of being able to see, you know, whatever, like very high speed internet. You could also be like, yeah, they don't have this, or if your mind is wrong, then definitely that affects how you're gonna stay in a specific country. On the other hand, of the people that think this is the Wakanda or as shown, actually it's so funny that I've even seen it in movies when people are acting to be like, oh, you're from Africa, Wakanda forever, such kind of jokes, and how it looks like a fantasy, like it is not this world that we are living in, you know. And you come to Africa with this mentality, let me tell you, you will experience a big culture shock in terms of realizing how we still have a degree of way of doing life, individualism, something like this. Like there's still something so different, and Africa is not necessarily Wakanda, if that makes sense. Like Wakanda for me is like this dreamy place that you would desire that you're going to. Well, we have to say there are some things that you'll definitely not encounter when you come to Africa. At least I'm talking about my country, Kenya, in that case. Well, I know in some countries like South Africa, people still experience these things to do with black racism, which is the biggest thing that you would say causes the African Americans to move over here to Kenya. Well, on the same note, I've now been keen to know, in the preparation before I tell my husband move to Kenya, why are African Americans that have already come, you know, we don't have to learn with our own mistakes, those that have already come, why are they going back to America? And that is what you're going to be reacting to today. Let me know in the comment section what are some of your thoughts in relation to this concept.
2019 marked the year of return and 400 years since the arrival of the first slaves to the U.S. This coincided with the call for African Americans to return to their homelands. And since then, thousands of Black Americans have in fact been paying heed to the call and making the move to Africa. Most of the diaspora have been moving to Ghana, but many others have also moved to places like Senegal, Ethiopia.
Just in case you didn't know why Ghana comes on the lead, is because it was on the lead forefront of the return, the year of return.
Nigeria, Rwanda, and South Africa. The reasons for leaving the U.S. transcend an ancestral calling. For many, it's the fractured race relations and an existential trauma that exists in the African American psyche since slavery. This all came to a boiling point after the murder of George Floyd in 2020. For many, it was a wake-up call that America wasn't really where they belong, and so they packed their bags in search of more welcoming lands. For many, their new home in Africa was blissful. A warmer climate, a lower cost of living, better quality food, and a...
So first of all, at this point, we're talking about why most of these people moved. And I have to say, if you move based on wrong factors, they are going to wear out and you'll find yourself going back. This is me thinking, just let's say, for example, if you move because of the emotion of, you know what, we are moving, time to move, let's just move. Somehow that emotion will change and you'll finally be overwhelmed by the many things that you will experience when you come over to Africa in that note. And I have to say, if you don't like have your life figured out somehow, like a small, let's say, strategy or plan, then they say a failure to plan is planning to fail. Somehow then that means you'll end up failing. For example, in things like, for example, you say the cost of living here is more affordable for African Americans. Fact. But if you don't have that money to keep on sustaining you or an income that keeps filling up, then in the long run you'll end up being poor. Anyway.
Sense of belonging without the day-to-day challenges of both subtle and more overt racism that confronted them in America. However, not everybody had the soft landing they were hoping for. In this video, we'll look at why some African Americans end up returning to the US after making the move to Africa. We found that there are 4 main reasons. Keep watching until the end, as reason number 4 will surprise you.
Okay, I hope by the time we make it to reason number 4, we sure will be surprised. But I would say one of the things has to do with money somehow. Because if you don't figure out money, career, and all these things. Because even when I think about why even Africans move to abroad countries, what we call abroad countries, they also live mostly because of money issues. So money issues, would I say security? I'm not sure, but I'm keen to hear what are the 4 reasons that he's going to talk about, and hopefully we'll be shocked.
First up, no jobs. Many African Americans hold the misconception that when they arrive in whichever African country they move to, that they'll be able to easily get a job.
This is where we just talked about failing to plan is planning to fail. So you have to have that kind of figured out on how you're gonna be able to get jobs. And we can say, okay, then Africans don't have opportunities in terms of jobs. I'm not saying that's the case per se, but I mean, if that is the situation, you could easily find a remote job in your own country and be able to get it done in whatever place that you move to. I'm just peeling out ideas in relation to solving this concept of no jobs. But for sure, no jobs, no money. That's the equivalent of it, right? But I also think, based on the reason why Africans move abroad, is the fact that, first of all, we can say there's jobs, and the return of that job is seen to be more, despite many people saying the cost of living also is more. But in Kenya, the opposite. Kenya and Africa, the opposite happens. So first of all, there could be lesser jobs, and second of all, the pay could not be anywhere in comparison to whatever you could be earning in the States. So if, let's say, for example, you are a nurse and you are earning, I don't know how much, maybe let's give an example, 30,000 USD, then you come to Kenya and they're saying they're going to pay you 3,000 USD, you'll be like, yes, you know, like, no, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't add up. I don't know why I talk like that, but I'm just saying, yeah, I get it. But if you plan well, we've seen many African Americans coming to Africa and making it and doing it on this job situation. Some employed, and majority of them being able to take advantage of the dollar and beginning businesses, bringing brilliant ideas, you know, and starting things and businesses flourishing.
This simply isn't the case. Unlike the US, jobs in most African countries are scarce, with unemployment rates sometimes being as high as 50%. Western world conveniences.
So, Western world conveniences. I don't know, what are these Western world conveniences? But I feel like Africa now, we are at a place, in most of the places, we are at a place that we can offer these Western world conveniences. Let's say deliveries. Let's say cabs. Let's say internet. Let's say electricity. Let's say flights. Let's say, what else? What else are there in terms of conveniences? Food. Let's say labor. I feel like even there's more cheap, affordable labor here compared to America. if in terms of conveniences.
The diaspora often fail to recognize how cushy their lifestyles are in the West. Only when arriving in Africa do they realize what they've taken for granted. Simple examples include basic road infrastructure with sidewalks.
I would say the only inconvenience that you will face is washing your shoes. That is the one that is almost inevitable because they still will get dirty. Yeah, unlike in your country, it doesn't get dirty, but here you just have to wash your shoes. But the good thing is, as I said, labor is affordable, so you can always just get someone to wash your shoes, and your convenience is back.
A lot of African countries may have tarred roads, but often don't have sidewalks. This means that walking from A to B often isn't an option. So you find yourself driving or taking taxis everywhere. Another example is online shopping. In the US, one can buy an item on Amazon using one-click checkout and it'll be with you later that day. E-commerce may well exist in Africa, but getting an item delivered to you may not be possible.
Still, based on my experience, online shopping is such an unliked thing here in Kenya. At least in Nairobi, I'm sure. Even people are delivering now things way too far. So we've really improved on convenience when it comes to online shopping.
This is because many parts of Africa don't have traditional addresses. The houses don't have names or numbers, and street names often don't exist.
I don't know where you're talking about, but I'll let it pass. Yeah, if you want to buy into this, and I don't know, tell me why you're moving from America and coming to stay in a house that has no name, has no all those things that he has described. Tell me, how did you even end up discovering that? Even in there's normally things that we call Nyumba Kumi initiative, things like this that make all of these things have some form of recognition. I don't know what that part was, but okay.
As a result, people often have to revert to providing landmark references such as the yellow house opposite the post office next to the park.
What about if I say I cannot handle this video no more? Please, from your accent, are you even African American or are you African from the first place? Are you kidding me? Is this a way of you being did you see? I think the person that is talking in this video did seek some AI program to write the script and they did not double check on what it has to say. So I'm not gonna skip that.
Maybe 5. It says it on the carton just like it does in the States. But those are the things you have to look into, because when I first got here and I got the almond milk, I didn't think about it. I just started keeping it for the amount of days I was used to. And I said, I need to read this and see what it says. I'm realizing it's the less amount of days. And so those are the things you have to look at too. Things that maybe you were used to getting of certain products that maybe had an expiration date different.
Okay, so let's talk about convenience in that way, yeah? Are you sure you want to have me and you to have this conversation? Because I don't get it. I don't get how you be like, I'm going back to America because I get the convenience of buying almond milk that is gonna last me a long time. Considering from the first place the amount of GMO influence these products have been put in America. And it's interesting because we do have this discussion, yeah, where I'm like, bread here in Kenya expires after 5 days max, But I hear in the States you can stay with bread for a month. Are you kidding me? Okay, I get it, but I don't get it. I'm happy to eat the more fresh things. I'm happy to enjoy that kind of convenience over that stayed for the longest time. Anyway, whatever works for you. Remember, you can always shop as much as you can, store in your fridge, and you'll be good to go. Or you can order online. I can't say, why did you go back to America? Because I couldn't get my almond milk last longer than 5 days. You petty, you go deal with your petty issues, then you come back, okay?
But in the States, it may be different here. So it's just little.
For some folks, not having these Western conveniences is more important than they realized, and before long they start to miss the comforts of American living and end up moving back.
But not almond milk. We can talk about many other things, not almond milk. And houses do have notice and labels. Yeah, where I stay, I can deliver things and they come to my door. Where many people stay, you can deliver things and they come to your door. At least they won't come to the yellow house. That was triggering. And I agree, we do say, I'm standing next to the yellow house, but because this is our easiest way to describe things instead of mastering what the name is of a place and stuff like this. And it's so funny that such things can be taken out of context very fast.
Culture. African Americans often erroneously believe that when they move to Africa, they'll fit right into the culture like a hand in a glove. This is very rarely the case. Although their ancestors may hail from the African country,
I cannot say it's very rarely the case. I feel like many African Americans coming to Africa are all very open to culture, to the culture and the way of doing life, and that's why you will see them trying to understand more on why we do some things the way we do and taking up whatever would be of benefit to them, you know. Yeah, I don't think it's as rare as you place it. Yeah. And also, you know, the good thing with culture, unless it is affecting you, those that are not affecting you, you can forget about them. Let me give an example, yeah? In Ethiopia, one interesting culture is people eat together. So if this culture you don't like, you just don't do it. And you continue on with your life easy and seamless. Right?
country they have moved to. Being so many generations removed from this country means that culturally they have very little in common with these people. Don't be expecting grits and deep fried chicken in Ghana. There aren't going to be any gospel singers in Senegal.
You mean there are not gonna be any gospel singers in Senegal? But why are you coming to America? Why are you coming to Africa? I think this is also another question that you need to ask yourself in terms of, it's like, I cannot go to a different place and expect the same.
People in Africa have never heard of Steve Harvey and don't care. The ones who try and adapt can sometimes make it work, but culture is a complex thing which is hard to articulate into words.
First of all, I'm not impressed with this video and you trying to paint us as we don't know about this thing. In a previous chit chat that we were having about why Kenya is a great place for African Americans, it's the best country for African Americans, you can take it down below. It was in conversation about how, let me say specifically for my country, Kenyans, we are open to learning new things about different places, knowing different cultures. Come and ask who Steve Harvey is. I can bet you we know Steve Harvey more than you do as African Americans, which is crazy. Anyway, yeah, and now I'm lost on this definition of culture, especially because the b-roll that this video is showing is of us dancing. We don't live life like this. This is still giving the Wakanda vibe. Come down to reality of Africa. But I feel like if your intentions are right, you have questioned yourself on your why. I don't feel like this is a reason that would make you go back. Unless you as an African American can explain to me other parts of it that I don't get.
Complex thing which is hard to articulate into words. It's also a feeling, and sometimes that feeling for African Americans in Africa just isn't there.
Here in America, you have selected different types of foods. If you want Mexican, if you want Italian, if you want Jamaican, if you want all of these different types of foods. When you get to Africa, those areas who have that, if they have that, are going to be tremendously high to eat at.
Lack of choice.
Well, that's true, but would you say that's how, because you have loved a lot about ourselves, that I'm happy eating my Kenyan food every day? I go to Ethiopia and they're happy eating their injera every day. And that's nothing wrong. You just need to pay the price of eating in a different kind of restaurant. For example, to eat in a Chinese restaurant here in Kenya or an Italian, it will cost more than eating just normally in a Kenyan restaurant. But it sure has that difference in terms of maybe convenience, or let's even say culture. But if you know why you came, it goes beyond that and being able to adjust and adapt. Lack
America
of choice.
is perhaps more the land of plenty than the land of the free. You never have a lack of choice when making a decision in America. If you want to book a flight from New York to Los Angeles, you can choose from more than 6 different airlines. In most African countries, you may only have one airline to choose from.
I don't get this point. This one was supposed to surprise me, but I don't get how you'll be like, why did you leave Africa? You know, I was checking flights and I only saw one airline. Really? Really? Really?
If you want to furnish a house or apartment, you have a cornucopia of choice when it comes to sofas, rugs, and tables and chairs.
Actually, I don't agree with that. If there are people that are very informed in terms of bringing things and are very creative and have a lot to offer when it comes to, like, you know, very good handmade things, I would say Africans have this. So there's no way you're saying we only have one. I don't agree with this point.
In Africa, this choice will most certainly be more limited. The lack of choice makes things more one-dimensional and also will invariably mean that prices on goods and services will be greater.
Then you want to go ahead and buy the items that you're so used to, whether it's dishwashing liquid, whether it is clothing.
I feel like that's not necessarily lack of choice, because that means then there are choices, just that it's not used to your normal way of the things that you use to do the cleaning or to do the dressing or the brands that you wear, stuff like this. But we have Amazon, we have ways of importing these things. You can definitely easily just import these things. Well, it will have a small degree of inconvenience, but if you really want it, it's doable.
Whether it is, you know, whether it's cleaning items, whether it is, you know, the food, or whether any item that's got to be imported in, it is going to be a task on your pockets.
All in all, every country has its pros and cons. Through trial and error, many African Americans have found a new home in Africa. For some who have moved over there more flippantly,
I would say it is not doable. It actually is doable, and I feel like there could be other better reasons or other more reasons based on why you're leaving that could make you actually stay. Like if you fully have understood on your why, then I feel like that will rise above you being able to kick out all these reasons why you left. Well, do you know any African American that moved to Africa and lives here? Or do you know any African American that moved to Africa and now has moved back to their country? Let me know in the comment section down below why they left. Subscribe to this channel. Let's continue on this journey of evaluating different things here on the internet. Bye.